Hello and good day everyone. Today we're going to have a look at the cards that have been revealed the past 2 days. I didn't have time to do a video about them yesterday because I had a birthday of a good friend of mine. So we're going to have a look at them now and see what we find. So let's have a look. Let's just start here at the top. So here we have 2 mana Noxious, Legionary Charge, Burst Spell, draw an ally with 5+ power or grow an ally to 5 power this round. That's interesting. So this is clearly meant for the Ash LeBlanc Reputation deck. Like drawing an ally with 5+ power, this could also be good even if you don't play a lot of 5+ powers. Like in the Yeti deck, to draw certain Yetis maybe, and also growing an ally to 5 power. Like if it's 0 or 1 attack, growing it to 5 power for only 2 mana, that's pretty strong. Like there's not a single card with that mana cost that will buff something that much. So yeah, it's both a versatile card and a strong card. I think this might... I'm not sure where you would fit this in, but this definitely seems like a playable card. I mean, it depends like on what kind of creatures you play. But like getting this with... in Swain Nora with Congeologist, and being able to buff Congeologist or one of those other weaker units to 5 power seems very strong for 2 mana. Also being able to draw a Leviathan. You could actually main deck it in that deck maybe. Like drawing a Leviathan or Swain after it's leveled. I'm not sure, but it's definitely interesting at least. I think this will definitely be a playable card. I'm not sure where it will go into. Like, I could definitely see it in an Ash LeBlanc deck, but maybe there are also other decks where you could fit this into. Yeah, I like the card. Looks fun. More things to play around in Noxious. Make Noxious a little bit of a better region after the Decimate nerf. Because the only Noxious decks that are actually good now are Swain decks. All of the other Noxian decks have fallen kind of out of favor, I feel. Yeah, definitely interesting card. Here we have 3 mana, Noxious, Fast, Brutal Skirmish. Destroy an enemy's equipment, an ally, and that enemy strike each other. Oh, that's interesting. So Noxious actually gets a strike even when they're not in battle. Like before, we only had the Draven Champion spell, but it had to. But your ally and the enemy both had to be in combat. Like destroying enemies' equipment, I don't know if that's really... That's more like a bonus effect. So it's more like a little bit of a more expensive single combat, but for a region that didn't have one as effective as this. Let's say it like that. Definitely interesting. And it also, like striking each other does fit Noxious as well as Demacia, because they're both like combat regions, I feel. I like it. Will definitely make some Noxious decks a little more interesting. 3 mana though, is that worth it? I think in some regions it. I mean, single combat is a very strong card. We're seeing that now with the Fiora or Taric plus Pantheon deck. If you could have it in a different region for 1 more with a small bonus effect that you might sometimes hit. Yeah, I like it. It's definitely interesting. It might actually see some play. Like also, well, no. In Reputation decks, you would rather play the one that actually has the Reputation bonus. That only has a strike that goes one way. But maybe it could see some play in another deck. I'm not entirely sure. But at least it's an interesting card that could make some Noxious decks more viable, not relying on a strike for Demacia. Yeah, I like it. Interesting card. What do we have here? 2 mana, Noxious, 2/1, Challenger, RuneSquire, when I'm summoned, Reforge. Ooh, more Riven support. Ooh, I like that. I really like Riven. She's one of my, I won't say favorite champions, but I really like her. When I'm summoned, Reforge. Very interesting. Cool. Oh, 2 mana, 2/1 Challenger. The stats aren't that great. I'll definitely say that. But being able to have more Reforges, because that's Sometimes you only find one Riven and one of your support units, and then Riven dies immediately, and you need the third Reforge to get the weapon, just so you can play it. Yeah, I'll definitely find a Riven deck to put this into. Also, it changes my view on these a little bit. Although you can never draw Riven with this, but no, I'm not sure. At least are there more Noxious cards? No, this is it. This is an interesting Noxious package, like Riven support, a strike, reputation support, or possibly just a strong buff, versatile card. I really like these cards. Noxious really needs some love because the only thing they have going right now is Swain. All the other Noxious champions don't see any play, I believe. Like, I know there was like one Ash LeBlanc on America's seasonals top 32, I believe, but like nothing else really sees play. Yeah, I like it. I'm not sure if this is as good as the other Reforged cards, but I mean, if you're playing Riven, you probably want to include this anyway. And having Challenger can be nice, especially with the Reforged part, because you can give it quick attack or plus attack, plus 2 attack to make this actually a threat to some things. Yeah, I like it. Then, ooh, what do we have here? 2 mana Ikavian Myths, burst speed, create an Ikavian Mirage in hand that costs 0 this round. So you cannot activate this as like a combat trick because it will be in hand, or create a Golden Spatula in hand. And Golden Spatula is a 2 mana +3/+2 equipment. That's actually not that great. Like Golden Spatula, when I've played a little bit of TFT, when you like that's like one of the items you in a lot of builds you want to have, but here I feel like so you have to play 2 mana to be able to get a weapon that's 2 mana +3/+2. Like I do get like these stats are pretty good for a weapon, but like the Shuriman weapon is like 3 mana 4/4. You do need to wait on the countdown, but the card you need to play for that only costs 1. So comparing those with each other, I don't feel like this is just fine, I think, but I don't think it's amazing or anything. And with a card like Golden Spatula has a meaning in TFT, I do find that a little bit disappointing. Could this be good enough? I mean, I don't know a Demacia deck that really wants to run equipment, though. Like, you can have scouts. You don't want to waste like 4 mana on +3/+2 on one unit. Leona's paired with weapons. I don't think you want to play this there. You have like the Pantheon decks, but they already have Wandering Shepherd, which I think is just better, and also the Dark and Lodestone, which is also better. I'm not seeing where you want to put this deck, where you want to put this card. I'm not seeing a deck that really wants this, which is a shame because the Golden Spatula is like a thing. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I don't think you really want to play this. And also having the option of an Ikavian Mirage, that just means you're having a 2 mana 3/2, no stats, nothing. That doesn't feel very good. So, yeah. I'm not seeing this one, unfortunately. Then we have another Darkin weapon. Demacia, 2 mana, +1/+1. The Darkin Aegis. It gives tough. And you may spend 5 mana to play me as Joral. And Joral is a 5 mana 4/3. Challenger tough. Your opponent's spells cost 2 more while I am attacking. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, wait. Is this the card I thought was Atrix? Yeah, I think it is. So this might not have been an Atrix, and we get something totally different. Okay. Okay, so for 2 mana you give something +1/+1 and tough. I'm not sure. Like the Jack's weapon that gives stuff is +2/+0, but it comes with a minion the first time you play it. And this is just like comparing this to the Darkened Lodestone. You give a supported ally +1/+1 feels a lot stronger than being tough. So the weapon itself, I don't think is up to a lot. I don't think it's very strong. It's decent, but it's not. It doesn't feel very strong to me. And then the unit, 5 mana 4/3, Challenger tough. Like without the effect, it feels a little bit over. Is it overcasted? I'm not sure. Like Challenger is a pretty expensive keyword. Tough is decent. But usually you want to trade up, so tough doesn't matter that much. I'm not sure. Like this effect is very good. Your opponent's spells cost 2 more while I am attacking. But I feel like this isn't enough of a threat that warrants this to be very good. You need like something else to attack with this. And I'm not seeing what else you want to combine this with to make this dangerous. Like if you have level Pantheon and then you attack with this one and the Pantheon, obviously that's going to be strong. But then again, your opponent will see this coming and do something before you attack. I'm not sure if this is that strong. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like the basic weapon is just not that impactful. And the unit could be, but you need to combine it with something else, I think. And I'm not sure then if you can actually pull that off. Because you need to spend like 5 mana on this creature and then 1 mana on something that is actually dangerous, and your opponent needs to not interfere with that. I'm not seeing it, really. Definitely interesting effect. Your opponent's spells cost 2 more while I am attacking. I don't think there's anything like that in the game currently. That doesn't restrict you from casting your spells at the same time. So definitely interesting effect. I'm just not seeing where you want to put this card into, or what you could make with this. Yeah, I'm currently not seeing it, but it's definitely an interesting card. Then we have the 7 mana Camouflaged Horror. It's Fearsome and Evolve. Ooh, more evolves. Skill, I strike an enemy 5/3. Okay. So we should assume it's always evolved on turn 7, because Kai'Sa is almost always evolved on 5. So on 7 you should definitely be evolved. So it's a 7/5, more likely, because you're never playing this in a deck where you can't evolve this. So it's a 7/5 that strikes an enemy for 7 mana and also has Fearsome. Like, I would rather have a different keyword than Fearsome on this, because you already want to play Merciless Hunter in the deck that has Fearsome. So the Fearsome on this feels a little bit useless, because you already were playing 3 Fearsome minions. And I don't think you want to cut them because they're just a strong card. Like, a different keyword would have been nicer, so it would be more of a addition to the deck. But being able to strike an enemy for 7 damage is pretty strong. I just feel that this is a little bit like too late, and the stats aren't that great. Like, most of the evolved minions have like bulky stats from their own. Like, you have a 4 mana 4/4 Overwhelm that can be a 4 mana 6/6 with Overwhelm. That's like big stats. 7 mana 7/5 are not big stats. And Fearsome, I feel like, doesn't do a lot. Like, sure, it's nice that like weak creatures can block it, so your opponent actually has to put something into it. But like, something with 5 attack is already good enough to block this and kill it. And then that doesn't feel great. Granted, you can kill something with 5 attack with this effect, but your opponent gets to play after this, unless you play second. But then, I'm not sure. And also, I feel like ever since the Void Abomination nerf, Kai'Sa decks are more about the champion with Heatless Resurrections. And I'd rather put my mana into a Heatless Resurrection or drawing one than playing 7 mana for this. I'm not sure. Maybe you like run like 1 or 2 because you don't have any real removal in Shurima. I could see that being the case. You just run 1 or 2. That might be nice, but I don't think this is going to be a giant buff for Kai'Sa decks. I don't think they really need a big buff also. Like, I just feel like other decks are just a bit stronger now, but it's not that bad of a deck right now. I mean, Kai'Sa is still a very strong champion. Yeah, could be fun like as a 1 or 2 off in a Kai'Sa deck. I don't think it's going to buff the deck that much though. Interesting card, I definitely like it. And then here we have, oh, this is the skill from the Camouflage Horror. Yeah, alright. Curse of the Tomb, 2 mana burst spell, predict. Give a unit, I take double damage, and if I would die, obliterate me instead this round. Oh, this is an interesting card. So for 2 mana you predict, that's not... The predict seems a little bit odd here, but I think it's like a nice bonus effect. The rest of the card reminds me a little bit of Disintegrate, the any champion spell. Except that it actually needs to still take damage. Like a decent amount of damage. Like if you do this on something with, let's say, 6 health, it still needs to get 3 damage instead of 1. So I think that's slightly worse. It does obliterate me instead, but I don't think that matters a lot. It matters sometimes, but not a lot. It matters against things that are equipped or attached. It matters against Nasus and Trash and things like that. Viego. And it matters against when your opponent plays like Heatless Resurrection or cards like that. But those are the only cases, and that's not a lot. I can't think of anything else that would really make... the Echo spell. Things like that. But it also has Predict as a bonus. So for being weaker than Disintegrate, they do give you a Predict effect added to it. I'm not sure in what deck you'd play this. Like, Shurima doesn't have a lot of spells that deal damage. The only ones I can think of are like the Spirit Fire you get from the Shuriman Tailstones, and like the Seraph Champion spell that require the right of, I'm not sure what it's called actually, but the one that like you need to sacrifice a mana gem or a landmark to deal 4 damage. I can't think of any other ones. So it's in Shurima, it will mainly be combat damage that you double. I don't know, it just feels like a -1 for no good reason. Unless you have like a lot of draw and you're like a control deck, but then maybe you combine this with a region that has a lot of damage cards and it could be great. I'm not really seeing it. Maybe that's up to me, but I don't think this is great. I don't see what this fits into. And I don't think this warrants making a deck around it. Yeah, I'm not sold on this. I like the effect. It's definitely a unique effect. But I don't think it will be played a lot. Yeah, that's where I'm going with. I like the effect. It's unique, but I don't think this is warrants a deck spot. Going on to this, 2 mana landmark, the Altar of Blood. When you slay a unit, reduce the cost of your next darken unit you play by 1. Wait. We don't have a lot of darken units, right? Like the champions and the weapons that change into units, right? Those are the only darkens. So you can get them reduced by slaying units. Like obviously this is good with Bloodletters, right? Because you get a lot of units, you can kill them with Solani. Solani gets cheaper. But even then, this costs a deck spot. And you don't reduce the cost of units that much by slaying units. And when you play this, you're not slaying anything by playing this card. Yeah, this just feels like a waste of deck spot. And card advantage, because basically this you play this on the field, you have one less unit you can put down, and you might get some reducement out of it, so it might be a little bit of a tempo play, but I don't think it's a giant tempo play to play this and then later play a Darken unit. And it does cost you a card on the to play. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Like maybe later if there are more Darken units coming out, but I felt like the whole thing from Darken units was like they're unique. There's only a few champions and weapons that change into Darken units that are Darken. And also this is a region locked, so you need to play this while all of the champions are Runeterra, so then you need to play them with Shurima, and all of the weapons from the Darken units are all into different classes. Like, I don't know, I just don't see this ever working. Yeah, I don't think this is very good. Let's go on with this one. The 3-mana Shurima weapon, +2/+1, swinging glaive. Strike, create a lucky find in hand. Oh, so we do get more things to create lucky finds. I don't think... Like 3-mana +2/+1 is definitely not that strong. Because there are Jax weapons that does similar things, but actually... Yeah, there are Jax weapons that does a similar thing. You don't get a lucky find, but like a mana jam or something that is slightly worse than this. But they cost 2 and come with a minion the first time you play them. So this feels expensive compared to those. Because creating a lucky find is nice. But you could also get this like on a 5-mana card that is 5/5 unit. And then he has this effect, and that is never played. So why would you play a weapon that has that effect and only adds +2/+1? Which is, if you compare the stats with the mana cost, worse than the minion is. And the minion comes with a minion, because he is a minion. So I feel this is worse than the minion, and therefore not gonna be played. That's where I'm landing. It's nice that they, like with the Reforge and the Evolve, it's nice that they come back to certain mechanics in the game that are not used a lot or underused or underperforming. But I don't think this is going to help any of the Lucky Find cards. And I don't think this will be see play on its own. So yeah, not seeing it. Then we go over here, a 3-mana landmark for Shadow Isles, Opulent Foyer. When I am summoned or when you gain the attack token, summon a Ghastly Band. Ooh, interesting. So the Ghastly Band is the 2/1 Hallowed Ephemeral unit for Gwen. When I am summoned or when you gain the attack token. So let's say in a perfect situation, you play this on turn 3 when you have the attack token on evens. So you play this on 3, you get 1 Ghastly Band. You can block with it, maybe, if your opponent hasn't attacked already. You get Hallowed 1. The next turn you get another one, you can attack with it. It will be at least 3/1 if you put it in the Hallowed spot, attacking with it. And you get another Hallowed stack. And then, but then the third one you get is only on turn 6. And the fourth one you get is on turn 8. So... most Gwen decks like to finish their opponent at like between turns 7 and 9, I feel. So you're only going to get, in a optimal situation where you have this on 3 and your attack token is on evens, you're going to get this 3 or 4 times. No, yeah, 4 times ideal. So realistically, you're getting a 3 or 4 times. Unless the game drags out a lot, but that's not usually what you want in your Gwen deck. So getting it 3 or 4 times, it does give you more Ghastly Bands than the spell, which gives you 2 for free, but this cannot be played with spell mana. So I think it's a fair card, but I don't think it's very strong. It will allow you to get some hallowed stacks throughout the game if you draw it early. But I don't think it does enough. Like maybe in some Gwen decks you might put this in as a 1 or 2 off. You never want to play more because you don't want to have like 2 or 3 of these on the field because you don't have any room for your other minions, other units. Actually, I'm not sure if you even want to run 1. Maybe 1 off. Yeah, 1 or 0. I don't think it's like, if you get it on turn 3, it will do a lot for the mana cost. But you don't play anything else on turn 3. It will occupy a unit spot. So the harrowing will be less strong, which you want to be running in almost every Gwen deck, I think. I think just the harrowing being less strong because of this makes this unplayable, actually. Because that's in every harrowing, in every Gwen deck I've seen, you want to play at least 1 or 2 harrowing as a finisher. So just for that reason, I think you won't see this being played a lot. But it is interesting, I'll give it that. Like, it could grant a lot of value if a game goes into the long run, but I don't see that happening because most Gwen decks don't want to do that. They're actually most of the time going to be the more aggressive deck. And then I don't think this is very strong. So yeah, that are my thoughts about this card. Let's go on with the next card. 2 more cards. 6 mana, Shadow Isles, Wrath of Echoes, round end. For each ally that died this round, grant all allied copies of it everywhere +1/+1, and it's a 2/5. Ooh, 6 mana 2/5 feels very bad. Round end. For each ally that died this round, grant all allied copies of it everywhere +1/+1. So I'm thinking about either Spiders or Mist's Wraith. Those are the ones that are coming up to mind the most. Maybe there are other things I'm missing, but those feel like the obvious ones because they're reasonably cheap and you can get a lot of them. But like in spider decks, I feel like you will have to combine spiders with Freljord, but I feel like the 6 mana +2/+2 to all allied copies everywhere seems stronger than this, because this has to survive while it's a 6 mana 2/5, and then the allies have to die. You don't want them to die if you want a lot of them to get buffed. Like, sometimes it happens, of course, but it's not generally what you want. This is just 6 mana 2/5. I think that's like the worst part here. And it doesn't grant immediate value on the field. I think that's just not playable. Like, for instance, if you compare this with, let's say, Shellfolk. Shellfolk, you can get some immediate value even if your opponent targets it the turn you play it by playing Trinket Trade or other cards. But this card, you don't have that bonus. Like, if this dies before the end turn, you're just sad. You played 6 mana for a really understated minion. And even if it survives, it's not granted that an ally dies that turn. So you might not even get value the first turn. And for a 6 mana 2/5, I think that's just not something you want to be doing. So yeah, I'm not seeing this at all as a playable card. It's also like, for a Mist Wraith deck, it's too slow. For a Spider deck even, I think it's too slow. You'd rather play it with Freljord with the focus spell that was burst before the nerf. Even at focus spell, I think that's just a lot better than this. I don't see this being good at all. Yeah. Going on to the last card, it's 3 mana Shadow Isles, a 2/3 Moonlit Glenkeeper. Fearsome, when you summon a ephemeral ally, grant it +1/+0, and Nightfall, summon a sapling. Ooh, that's very interesting. So When you summon ephemeral enemy granted +1/+0, that sounds a lot like the 2-mana 2/3 that's already in Shadow Isles. But I think it's only round end or grant, I'm not sure. Well, it doesn't matter, they're ephemeral, they'll die anyway. So you can add this to that. It also summons an ephemeral creature when you nightfall it. And has fearsome. So like, just like playing it as a non-nightfall card, it's definitely worse than the other card, the 2-mana 2/3, because the only added bonus here is fearsome, but stats are less, and you don't, and it's one more expensive. But when you nightfall it, you actually get a 2/1 challenger, which is a 3/1 challenger. So for 3 mana, getting a fearsome 2/3 and a 3 mana and a 3/1 challenger ephemeral, that seems pretty good. I could see some decks that want to play this, like maybe even in Hecarim decks you could want to play this. Yeah, definitely in Hecarim decks, because it buffs every ephemeral ally and also summons a sapling. So like if you already had a Shark Chariot died or something, that also gets +1/+0. So this could be very good in Hecarim decks. I'm thinking if there are other decks. Combining Hecarim with Vizier seems very strong with that. Combining it with Zed and the Ionia Dragon Link cards. Yeah, they're definitely... I think like Hecarim decks are just the main focus you want to play this in. Like saplings tied to Maokai, I don't see you really want to put this into a Maokai deck though. Not enough ephemeral allies to really ruin that. Yeah, this could be used in Hecarim decks, which currently are not in the meta, so that could be interesting. I like both a Vizier or Zed, then I think you'll want to play this in both versions. I have an Azir Hecarim deck in my deck collection. I think I'll put this into it. I just need to look what I'm going to take out, but this definitely seems like a card that I want to put in that deck. Yeah, I like it. It's a deck that, like, Hecarim decks are quite dangerous because they can be quite fast, but it's hard because you're inconsistent in drawing Hecarim, and you actually want to play Hecarim on turn 6 every game. And that even then it can just be mini-morphed or vengeanced, which makes it feel bad. But getting a little bit support for that deck, definitely nice. So I like this. It's not like amazingly strong, but I do think it's a strong card, and specifically in that deck. I don't think you want to play it in a lot of different decks. Although you might. Like, in a Nightfall deck, is this decent? I'm not sure. Like, it does help level Nocturne, even if you don't Nightfall him, because he has fearsome. But you never want to play him not Nightfall. You want to play him Nightfall, and even then, like, what else could you be playing for 3 mana? You could get the 5/3 with Overwhelm, or you can get a 2/3 fearsome and a 3/1 Challenger Ephemeral. I think they're on par. I think they're worth almost the same. You might want to play this in a Nightfall deck, and I'm not sure if you want to play all 3, but maybe like 1 or 2. Yeah, I could see this also popping up into Nightfall decks. Definitely interesting card that has some versatile use. Yeah, I like it. Alright, so those were the cards. These cards will be revealed tonight. I believe the champion should be among them because the expansion will be released tomorrow. So I think these are going to be final cards. I'm going to make a video about them tonight when the video and the cards are going to be released. For now, I hope you liked this video, and I'll see you for the video tonight. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you next time.